What's up, everybody? Coach Mills here, coming at you with a brand new Valorant video. And in this video, we're gonna break down how to get every headshot in Valorant, or how to master every single weapon. Mechanical skill is a really important aspect of Valorant, but many people are struggling to improve, so I thought I would break down some tips and tricks on how to improve very quickly so you could be that top tier headshot machine. But go to the GameLeap website right now if you want to improve, you want to dominate, you want to level up. We have in-depth mechanical courses, agent guides, map courses, and much more, so you gotta go check it out right now down below. But without further ado, let's jump into the video. Now, the first thing that I want to talk about in Valorant is the types of aim that are most important in Valorant. Now, in traditional games, there is tracking type aim, there is flicking type aim, and then there is pre-aiming, or the fundamentals of crosshair placement, which y'all have heard many freaking times before. But specifically for tracking based aim in Valorant, that is at an all-time low. It's nearly non-existent in Valorant. Now, the reason that this is true is because of the time to kill. You're killing a target so quickly that oftentimes the nuance of tracking a target through the air or running around a corner and tracking a target just plays second fiddle to either controlling your recoil to hit consistent shots for some guns, but more often than not, controlling your recoil to either hit headshots or just hitting headshots outright, setting it up with crosshair placement or accurate flicking. Now, let's move on to that flicking section, because flicking can take a really huge role in Valorant in particular. Specifically, flicking allows you to overcome matchups where your crosshair placement fails you. You start to take a point and you clear this angle, you clear this common angle, you clear this common angle, but an enemy is holding an angle that is not normal, right? It's not a natural covered base angle, because that's typically where enemies will hold, right? They'll hold near cover because they could take a shot, and if they miss, they can always retreat behind cover. But a Jet or a Reyna, or now even a Chamber, will be standing in this freaking off angle, and they will be trying to play for this kill that you are not clearing with your crosshair placement, and very specifically with your counter strafing, and they'll try to get a kill on you, and they'll just yeet away with their movement abilities. Now, this is where flicking comes in, and this is where flicking can be the difference maker, because you're clearing a close corner and the enemy is somewhere else where you're not normally clearing, and you flick to their head and you kill them. Now, there's several important aspects of flicking that you got to get down perfectly. The first thing is, when you are flicking, it is important to not move and flick. You have to make sure that as you're clearing one corner, you still are stationary, you flick to the target you have to flick to, and you're trying to finish them off. Now, if you're already firing, and what I mean by that is if you start spraying at the first target, you kill a target, and someone's to the left side, it is acceptable to flick to that target and start crouching and try to recoil control for that second kill. It's not completely optimal, and it's not always going to work out, but sometimes an enemy is going to kill you so quickly that you have no choice but to try to convert your spray instead of stopping and repositioning, because you're most likely going to die instantly. Now, there are honestly many ways to practice flicking. The best way, in my personal opinion, is going up against the training bots in training room. You could practice that, and then also practicing in DM. Basically, I would highly suggest you start small, where you're trying to flick really tiny flicks around. Make sure to flick in every direction, whether it's up, down, left, right. Sometimes people become better at flicking for certain directions because they do it very often. And then if a target's above them, like a raise, or maybe a target is crouching, it's hard for them to flick down. It's really good to practice all types. And then slowly you can start experimenting with flicking longer flicks. But remember, the further the flick, the less consistent you're gonna be, and the much more difficult that flick is to hit. And at the end of the day, flicking is trying to help you win these matchups where there's an anomaly and your crosshair placement fails you. It is not a replacement for crosshair placement. You can't just walk onto a site looking at people's toes and flick up on every single head. It's just not gonna happen. It's gonna be very inconsistent. So definitely keep that in mind. It's to help and improve your impact, not be the entire impact. Now, in looking at the VODs of a lot of different Valorant players, sometimes I see players that are very consistent from close to mid-range with their shots, right? They're able to lock in that value a fairly high percentage of the time, if not 100%. But the second someone starts moving further and further and further away, all of a sudden, their mechanical skill looks atrocious. They turn a corner to someone, you know, all the way down on the back, like CT, right? And they try to shoot at them, and, you know, they're spraying their entire clip trying to finish this person off, or they're whiffing and whiffing and whiffing non-stop. Now, first off, this could be a sensitivity problem, especially from further away. A lower sensitivity is going to help you stabilize that aim. That doesn't necessarily mean you should just swap your sensitivity right away, but it's something to consider, and it's something to take seriously depending on how different your sensitivity is to the rest of the pro spectrum. What I mean by that is from the high to low sensitivity. We've covered this in many other videos. Now, that being said, there are ways to artificially help your aim if they're very far away. Specifically, one, a soft mouse pad. You can push into that mouse pad and apply extra pressure to it. This artificially lowers your sensitivity to help you control from these longer distances. On top of that, I think the biggest thing is people are a little bit afraid. They are afraid that if they stop spraying, they are going to lose and not be able to kill the enemy. Here's what you should often do. If you're gonna peek a really long sight line, go in with the intent to do a certain goal, and regardless of whether or not that gets pulled off or whether it happens, you still back off. And what I mean by that is, let's say you're gonna peek CT, you're gonna say, hey, I'm gonna do a 3-round burst, and then I'm gonna back off. So you go out, you counter strafe, you see an enemy, you 3-round burst, whether you hit them in the body, whether you killed them, or whether you whiffed entirely, then you reposition, you back off, you reset your aim. You're not going to decide on the fly, and even if you just do like 80 damage to them, you're still backing off, you're saving your life. And the reason that this is so good is you're just doing damage, getting information for free, and you're not getting too in your head about, oh, should I commit to this spray? Should I keep spraying? I hit them twice, I hit them 3 times. Should I keep spraying even though my accuracy is terrible? Should I try to reset my aim? How should I take this? You know, there's so many different questions and variables when all you need to do here is focus on your mechanical skill, tighten up your aim, and try to deal out as much damage as possible, whether you get the kill, whether you don't. You still have a game plan for immediately afterwards, so you're not going to be panicking if things don't go your way. You have a game plan whether they go your way or not. Now, this really brings me to my last section, which I think is an ongoing problem in Valorant, which is discipline difference on other weaponry. And what I mean by that is specifically everyone has very disciplined crosshair placement, spray control, tapping, and they're not spamming crouch every 2 seconds or trying to spray like crazy when they're using the Vandal. But the second any other weapon is in their hands, running and gunning is turned on, and you know, your consistency goes out the window. Just because you're not using a weapon like a Vandal doesn't mean you're not supposed to be aiming head level, doesn't mean you should spray like a psychopath every single situation you get. Especially from longer ranges, sprays become very, very inconsistent, and it's far better for you to try to burst or try to tap, reposition, move a couple of steps, counter strafe again, try to tap again, counter strafe again, try to tap again, playing for the almost first shot accuracy, not actually first shot accuracy, but the near first shot accuracy of your weapon, rather than trying to get lucky and spray control from across the freaking map. And if your weapon is not a weapon capable of, you know, killing very quickly, if you're just tapping or bursting, then maybe you should second guess even trying to take that duel in the first place if it's that far away. So, you know, you're turning the corner with a freaking Stinger or a Spectre. You don't have to fight that duel if your weapon is not going to be effective from that range if people are at the far end of CT. So definitely something that you should consider. Make sure that you're still adhering to all the same levels of discipline. If you're using a Phantom instead of a Vandal, and especially from those close to mid ranges, you know, double headshotting on the Spectre, even that is going to be far more consistent kill wise than, you know, always trying to run and gun with the weapon, always trying to be fast and loose just because you're not using that one gun that one taps for any range. So definitely keep this in mind. Definitely apply some of these tips and tricks to your Valorant games, and I'm sure your mechanical skill will improve. But if you want more in-depth content, we have more on the GameLeap website. You can go check it out and ask me any questions down below. Thank you so much for coming by. Hope you enjoyed the video. I love your faces, and I'll see you next time.